What a gorgeously sunny day. I'm gonna go ride. Hey guys, the winter was long and wet, but finally I had some time to ride the board and finally come up with the final review. I'm going to be going off of a script because there's too much stuff here to remember. I'm going to go over the specs. I'm going to go over some of the problems that I had, and I'm going to go over some of the pros about this board and the brand. So this is a Trampa Electric mountain board. This is the 676E model. It's a little bit customized. Pretty much everything in the front here is all stock. Obviously the battery here is, just a LiPo. The biggest customization is the whole mount for all the VESCs. This is a heavy duty 17 ply Trampa Hydro deck because I'm a pretty heavy set guy, and there's charts on the website depending on your weight and size. You can have a 15, 16 or 17 ply. I believe they have various different sizes as well. These are two VESC version 6 speed controllers, obviously one for each side. Two twin 118 kV motors. I wanted a lot of torque, so I went with low kV. There's three available. There's a 118, 136 or 156 kV, depending whether you want speed or torque. I went with torque. These are the Pro motor mounts. You can get street mounts as well, which are a little bit simpler. These are a little bit tougher design. There's different ways of doing this. If you want to do it customized, DIY, you can go chain, you can go belt, you can go direct drive. Trampa sells belt drives. I'll talk about pros and cons of that later. Vertigo Trucks from Trampa, a Maytech hand controller. They have 3 different controllers, like pistol grip style. I like this one because it's nice and it's very easy to operate. Just no buttons, no nothing. Very, very nice. I do have Bluetooth and I have a phone app, which is awesome because you can actually log your data as you're riding and you can overlay it as an OSD information on your ride. So that's cool. Like I said, I have the custom VESC mount. Normally, Trampa sells basically just a little carbon plate that you attach the VESCs onto, and everything was exposed. And when I got it, they didn't have the silicone sealing that they have now. I had problems with one of my ESCs. I got a replacement for it, and the new one came with silicone weather sealing and a silicone cover. If I had that originally, I may or may not have built this. I probably still would have because I like the way it came out. But current designs comes with silicone sealing and a silicone cover for each VESC. So I think the newer ones are much better that way. I'm running 12S LiPo. Lithium ions are higher capacity, a little bit less weight, but they're twice as expensive. So I prefer to have 2 of these packs with me. One runs out, I can quickly swap it, and I know kind of what my range is. I mean, you can tell your voltages and things like that from all the sensors, but this is much cheaper, much simpler. I may build a lithium ion battery eventually. The board comes with a big box here that you normally would put in and you build a custom battery pack. But I found that opening it every time I had to charge the battery, it was a pain. I would have to totally rewire everything inside. Going with LiPos was not the right solution because they're heavier and less capacity versus lithium ions. Lithium ions are just expensive. So these are half the price typically per watt hour. The motor mounts have 66 tooth pulleys. That's the standard. And then on the motors, you can get a choice of 13, 14, 15 tooth pulleys, depending again whether you want speed or torque. I went with 13 because I want torque. I want to be able to climb steeper hills. But if you want more speed, you can go with a different setup. Now, Trampa sells this as a DIY kit. I will link a video in one of the corners kind of showing you the package that I received, but everything comes as separate assembled pieces, like all the motor assembly on the track is all ready to go. So all you have to do is attach it to your board. You have to do your own wiring. You have to assemble everything, but everything I would say is basically about 70% assembled, and then all you have to do is just finish it, wire it, put a battery on, and you're off and running. The only thing it doesn't have is programming. You have to do your own programming. And batteries from Trampa are sold separately. So that's a little bit about the specs. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to some of the problems that I had as it came. I wish Trampa, Frank, or the guys, when you do it, pre-program the VESCs and label each VESC with each motor. I need even just a basic program because it was a little bit challenging at first. You know, you can figure it out if you're into the DIY stuff and if you're into programming, but it wasn't very easy. Some people may have issues more than others. One VESC that I got burnt out on me originally, I will again link to the video that happened. It was taken care of. Trampa, Frank, they replaced it, no issues, so that was okay. Now, when I was adding Bluetooth to the system, for some reason, I went into the app, hooked up a USB port, changed my settings, saved, unplugged, And then I think I don't remember exactly the steps, but I think I went back in to change some other settings or just look at some other settings. And then I saved, I unplugged, and for some reason my VESC firmware got corrupt. It wouldn't respond. It took me a good week to figure it out that the firmware or the bootloader got corrupted, one of the two, because I could no longer connect with USB. That was a little bit scary because these VESCs by themselves are pretty expensive. So I went out and got an original SD-Link programmer. Some people say that it didn't wire it correctly. I verified, I went over it many times. I think I did hook it up right, but I could not force the firmware to load through the SD-Link programmer. Eventually, I ordered a Chinese clone programmer for like $3 off of eBay, and that worked the first time. Hooked it up, took the program, no issues at all. So sometimes Chinese clones are good. Like I mentioned before, the original VESCs came naked. The new ones I know have silicone sealing and silicone covers, so that should no longer be an issue. If you want, you can double check with the guys when you're ordering to make sure that you're gonna get that. Otherwise, I felt that it would have been too exposed, so that's why I built my cover. The motor leads, I had problem with. The motor leads are very stiff because it's basically the winding of the motors are going out of the motor, and they have bullet connectors on them, or banana connectors, one of the two, I don't remember. And in the first few rides that I took it out, they came loose, and because of vibration, two of them broke. So I had to resolder the banana plugs back onto the leads. So since then, I really wrapped everything around, with multiple zip ties to make sure there's zero vibration on the motor leads. Because if there's vibration there, they would break. And I told Frank that they should have silicone wires coming out of the motor instead of the actual windings coming out. I don't know if they're working on that. You may want to look into it when you're ordering, or just make sure you have no vibration on the motors coming out of the motor, or the motor wires actually coming out of the motor, so that the only play in the wires is out on the silicone part of the wire. Same thing with the sensor wires. It was just a short little extension, stiff plastic wires. I basically clipped it all out. I extended the sensors wires with longer silicone wires, and I wrapped it all together, and everything is hooked up now. I prefer riding with censored motors because you get much smoother startups. So I hope they're gonna either figure out a way to deal with that, or I'm not sure, or you would have to do that on your own. Not a big deal. Silicone wire is cheap. You can just do it that way, or you can run with sensorless. Sensorless are fine. The only issue, like I said, is when you're starting from stop position. It gets a little jerky, but other than that, once you get going, it'll work just fine. Okay, so let's move on to some of the awesome sides about this thing. So on the positive side, like, this is the best looking decks out there. I really like the Trampa designs. They look really cool. They're very flexible. You can get different ones for your weight, and they're really, really good looking boards. I mean, look at that. How can you beat that? I do like the straps. You get a little, it takes a little while to get used to them, but once you get used to the straps, they actually help you with turning and with leaning. So I don't know, some people may not like them, but I got used to it. This board is almost silent. Once you get going, there's a little bit of an electrical noise, but to get going, it's running in a FOC, which is field-oriented control. There's two modes to run a brushless motor. The classic PLDC mode, where you're switching frequencies or switching the MOSFETs depending on the coil, or you can do the field-oriented control, which is basically a variable frequency drive control method. So it's silent. I will link a video to one of the corners of a comparison between a BLDC type control and FOC control, and you can definitely hear a difference. On the BLDC, you get this electrical winding noise right from the start. With FOC, it's really, really quiet. Tough construction, like, you know, Trampa, they're mountain boards. They're designed to go down hills. Everything is nice and tough. The trucks, the deck, really well made. I like it. I like the 200 millimeter or the 8-inch wheels. I was looking, when I was first looking at a board, you know, you have the other brands, they usually come with 80 millimeter wheels, the regular longboard wheels. I was kind of freaked out that it would, you know, if you hit a rock or you hit a pothole or something, I don't know, I wasn't comfortable with that. I'm a little too old now where if I fall, I actually did fall a few weeks ago. I got scared by a dog and I think I hurt a few ribs, and, you know, I still have something to show from the fall, but I prefer this. I don't have to worry about it. I can go on-road, off-road, trail, you know, I'll link some videos. It's really, you don't have to worry about the road conditions. It is amazingly fun to drive. I haven't had this much fun since I started flying drones. This really competes for my time now. I have a hard time deciding whether I want to go flying or riding. It's a lot of fun to ride, and it's an eye catcher too. If you want to go out, have some fun in the park, it's really, really cool. And I'm not big on exercise, so this at least gets me outdoors. I consider this my exercise, my lazy person's exercise. And overall, I love this thing. I'm really happy that I bought this brand that I found. You know, I was Googling for weeks before I made a decision, and Trampa was the coolest looking stuff out there. You don't have to buy the whole set from Trampa. I would at least recommend the decks and the tracks. There's different people selling different drive systems for these things. You can go, like I said, you can go belt drive, which is the quietest, and it has the smoothest transition between on and off load, because the belt tends to absorb some of the jerkiness, I would guess. So I went with this. You can get direct drive. There's some advantages to direct drive. I don't know if they're going to be as long lasting as the belt drive, but there is guys out there that are selling direct drive systems. The one advantage is that they're smaller physically, because you don't have a belt connecting the two pulleys. The pulleys are meshing with each other, so you get a smaller overall distance, and you may get a little bit more clearance underneath, but I'm not sure. And then if you want to go total DIY style, you can go chain drive. There's guys out there selling mounts for chains, so you get sprockets, and that would probably be the cheapest and easiest options if you want to do a totally custom design. But I went with a complete Trampa setup, and I'm really happy with it. It runs awesome. And then especially once I finished my cover, everything works fine. I have lights all along the back, on the sides. I have voltage monitoring here, so I can just have a quick glance at the voltage. It's fully charged 12S basically. Like I said, I have Bluetooth, so I can monitor everything with my phone. Here I have a GoPro mount, so I can put a camera or you know, just run with the light. But yeah, it's really a lot of fun, and I recommend Trampa. See you guys.
but waited out for you. I wanna feel I'm hollowed out inside, all emptiness and pride. Wanna be someone I've been calling out for years.
just did 2 trips around Stanley Park in Vancouver. It's a beautiful day, so I think I'm gonna go for a third one. See you guys.